Luna, want to play some poker? Let's go play some poker. Come on, let's go. Come on. My name is Jose, and this is my first poker blog. We're going to start off with the first hand. We are dealt Jack 10 offsuit on the cutoff. The under the gun +1 limps. The low jack raises to 7. The small blind folds. The big blind calls, and the under gun +1 calls. We are going 4-handed to a flop. The flop comes 9 queen 4 with 2 spades. The small blind donks for $7. It's a little bit weird. Under the gun +1 calls. And then the low jack folds. He was a pre-flop aggressor, which is also weird. So I go ahead and make the call with my straight draw. The turn is a good one. It is the 8 of clubs. So we have the nuts. The small blind bets out again for $15. Under the gun +1 folds, so we are now down to heads up. At this point, what I'm thinking is that any spade, jack, 10, king, or ace is going to slow down the action, and it's going to really scare our opponent if they're holding some kind of one-pair holding or something like that. And we unblock the entire board. So I'm pretty sure they're very happy with their hand. They probably have top pair with a combo draw or some kind of 2-pair. So we were easy enough to jam the river with the rest of our stack. Villain snap jams, so we snap call. The river's a 4 of spades. We are almost scared, but then the villain just tables jack 10 suited for a chop. In this particular hand, we're in a hijack. The pre-flop action is that another gun limps. Low jack raises to $5. It's a very weird raise. We look down at 9-8 of clubs. Now, after it's been raised to $5, I wanted to the betting lead with this hand in position, so we 3-bet to $20. And if our opponent really has something that justifies this little tiny raise of $5, then we're going to know about it and we can comfortably fold without losing any more money. The small blind calls to 20, and under the gun +1 that limped in before he folds. That's weird, but it's okay, we'll take it. And then the pre-flop aggressor, he calls. The flop comes king of clubs, deuce of diamonds, and 9 of hearts. The pre-flop aggressor that bet $5 before, he donks into me for $30. We have second pair, but we have position in the range advantage, so at this point I'm kind of more concerned as to whether or not the small blind is going to continue after all this action. So if the small blind folds, we could potentially just outplay our opponent. So because of this reason, we flat, and fortunately for us, the small blind folds. So we are down to heads up. The turn is a 4 of clubs. We include to our flush draw. The low jack now bets $25. So we go from 30 to 25. This is a very weird bet. The villain still has $125 behind. And in hindsight, I think now that I think about it, this is more of a blocker bet. And raising here is probably a more optimal play. We want to get hands like jacks, 10s, or any other pocket pair to fold. Any other 9 is probably going to be a better 9 than mine, if you don't count the fact that I also have a flush draw. So ideally, we do want to get those hands to fold. I don't see the villain making this kind of play with anything else. Let me know in the comments below if you would raise or just call in this situation. At the time, I wanted to realize my equity since we improved to a flush draw. In general, there isn't really that much fold equity in 1-2 anyway, so I just decided to call and see a river. The river is a 9 of spades, so the river does bail us out. The villain throws in 2 green chips for $50, and he only has $75 behind, so we just ship it all in. He isn't happy and instantly mucks his hand, and we win a decent-sized pot without a showdown. On this next one, we really butchered this hand. It's really bad. We run on the button. There's four limpers, and the first mistake that we do is that we raise it to $12 with King Queen offsuit. We make a mistake and raise it to $12. We really should be raising to at least $15 with that many limpers. Anyway, it's a small blind, a big blind fold. The under the gun calls, under the gun plus one calls, and then the low jack in seat 8, he raises to $30. And then he actually gets back to me, and I'm hesitating a little bit because this play doesn't make so much sense to me unless he thinks we're just trying to pick up the dead money in the pot with a mediocre hand. If he had anything at all, he would be raising himself after two limpers. The best hand he could possibly have here is maybe some sixes, fives, fours. Definitely nothing better than a pocket sevens. I'm not sure if I really just want to flip for stacks, even though I'm up. Um, he only has about $100 left. If he doesn't have a pocket pair, I'm certain that I have the best hand, so I flat and let him bluff into me. That's probably mistake number two. I'm pretty sure I should have ripped it all in here. Under the gun plus one and under the gun they both fold, so it's down a heads up. The flop comes 9-8-6 rainbow. We completely miss this board, and we end up with two overs and a backdoor straight draw. It doesn't take long for him to just jam his entire stack in, and we have no choice but to fold. We can't even beat ace high. The villain shows 10 deuce of diamonds for the bluff. He ripped it in my face with a gut shot, and now we have a new special friend in seat 8. Our special friend has continued to show bluff after bluff after bluff in the last 3 or 4 hands, so we're looking to trap him. Under the gun limps, our special friend raises to 11, hijack calls, and we're in the cutoff with ace-jack offsuit. We decide to isolate, and we raise to $35. It folds around to our special friend, and he just rips his entire stack in right away. We are not folding at all. The hijack says he isn't happy. He just ends up folding. Our friend says that he supposedly only wanted to bet
150.
Oh no.
Oh, all I wanted to bet was 150.
Well, you pushed everything in, so. I don't believe anything he says. If he wanted to bet that much, then he would have counted it out. I get a quick count and I make the call. And he says,
Good call, brother. You gotta get lucky. I know you got an ace. Come on.
we table our hand since we know we're ahead. We're going to give him a chance to muck his hand. The board runs out with a king high. We don't improve. And we're going to lose his hand to our special friend. We are definitely very annoyed by this situation, but it is what it is. We got the money in good. There's not much else we can do. You just gotta reload, say nice hand, and hope for the best in the next hand. But this is where the tilt starts to happen, and we start losing control a little bit. A couple hands later, we pick up pocket sixes on the button. There's an under the gun straddle. Our special friend makes it $10. We want to get involved. I consider three betting, however, I just wouldn't feel comfortable calling off my stack with sixes if he jams on me again. So we flat and hope to spike our set. The big blind and the under the gun calls, so we go four ways to the flop. The flop comes out ace deuce 10 rainbow. It checks around to me. I see no reason to bet this flop with two overs on the board. We are four-handed, so we check hoping to hit our six. The turn is a four of clubs. I don't think this four really helped anybody. Under the gun bets five, and our special friend calls. I don't see a reason to chase a two-outer, even for $5, so we just fold. The river is the four of spades. Under the gun bets $5 again, and our friend raises to $50. I'm thinking in the back of my mind that this has got to be a bluff. Yet again, under the gun folds, and our special friend shows another bluff with 3-6 offsuit. We're not happy about the fact that we're bleeding chips like this. We have our friend dominate a pre-flop, and we're still letting him pick up pots from us. We feel ourselves tilting. Once again, we're going even deeper and deeper into the tilt. This is not a good situation for us right now. And the very next hand, we have ace deuce of spades on the cutoff. Once again, our special friend limps in, and by this point, he's seeing 100% of the pots. We raise it up a little bit to $7 with a weak suited ace. The big blind under the gun calls, and our special friends also call. The flop comes 6 deuce 3 rainbow. We have bottom pair with backdoor draw. Our special friends bet $5. I call. The big blind calls. Under the gun folds. The turn is an offsuit 7. The big blind checks our friend. Again bets $5. I call. The big blind folds. We're down to heads up. The river is a 3. Our friend bets $30. We are not really happy where we're at. We only have one pair. I beat nothing but a stone cold bluff, even though a lot of draws would have just gotten any pair on this board. I know I should fold, but I let my emotions get the best of me because I don't want to get bluffed. I flick in the calling chip, and our friend shows down 4 or 5 offsuit for the flop nuts, and we get completely owned in all 3 streets by our friend. After we get completely owned, we know we are just way beyond our tilt. Even Luna takes notice. She looks up at me. She says it's time for a break. So we take her outside, and I am just so tilted, so out of our element. The only footage we get is just Luna relieving her bladder. We don't even record the feelings or anything like that. We have no footage for this because I have no experience and I'm feeling incredibly bad.
Must focus.
Come back with my mind a little bit more clear. And I peed, we both peed. I got some water and rehydrated to help me with my refocusing and my mental state. I get right back on the phone and get dealt ace 10 offsuit on a straddle pot. I make it $20 to go and the button defends the straddle. We go right to a flop of queen 6-4 offsuit. We miss the board and then there is only one card that is good for my range, so I check. The button checks behind. The turn is a 10. We improve to second pair, so we bet $15. The button calls. The river pairs the board with a 4. At this point, I'm thinking if the villain had any type of queen or a set, I would have seen some kind of aggression from the opponent with a bet on the flop or a raise on a turn. So I'm almost certain that we have the best hand here. If I lead out on this river and I get raised, I'm going to be completely disgusted. So for these reasons, I elect to check with intentions of calling almost any bet. The button bets $20 and I snap call. The villain hesitates to table his hand. I don't really have much myself either, but eventually he shows 5-3 offsuit for the missed draw. We almost got smoked by 5-3 offsuit again, and good thing our villain didn't get his one time, otherwise it would have been really bad for my mental state. We use our position to pick up some small pots here and there, nothing really to blog about. We get our favorite hand of 9-8 suited in the small blind. We're short-handed since 2 players also left the table after our special friend left. The cutoff raises to $10. We're out of position, but we do have a hand that plays well. I think flatting here was a mistake. I really should be 3-betting here, trying to get heads up against the razor. But we don't do that, we just flat. The flop comes ace 8-7 rainbow. We have a pair in the backdoor draw. It checks around, nothing happens, nobody seems to be interested in this pot. The turn is a queen of hearts. I kind of wish it was a queen of clubs instead, so that we can actually bet into this pot. But we can't, so we check and it checks through again. I don't mind a cheap showdown at this point. The river is a 9. We do get 2 pair. I don't want this to check through since we do have 2 pair. We could potentially get value from a non-believing 9, pocket 10s, or maybe even a weak ace. The board is still very wet, so we bet with the intent to fold to aggression. We bet $15. The button goes into the tank for a little while, but eventually folds and we get a small pot without a showdown. We have a new player in seat 8. We pick up a premium. We look down at ace king of hearts. We are under the gun +1. We raise to 10. We get 2 callers. The flop comes 5 of spades, 9 of diamonds, 7 of clubs. We don't even get a heart. We get nothing. The big blind checks and I check. The little jack bets $10 and the big blind calls. I'm unhappy. We fold. We could be drawing to split the pot for all I know. Let's just see what happens in this hand. The turn is a 2 of diamonds. The big blind bets $15 and the low jack just snap calls. The river is a 3 of spades. The big blind bets $20. The low jack goes into the tank for a little bit and they call. The big blind shows 9-3 offsuit, and I think we might be making friends with the new player sitting in seat 8. With this new friend in seat 8, we find ourselves for the full table again. We are no longer short-handed. The dynamic of the table is shifting. I notice the players are thinking a little more when they're faced with larger bets and are putting tough spots. So this is also causing me to stop and think when I'm facing aggression. In this next hand, we start on the button and we get 4 limpers. We look down at Queen 7 offsuit, we check our option, and we go 5 ways to a flop. The flop comes 10-6-6. We have nothing. We only have a backdoor draw and 1 over. It checks around to me. The limpers could have absolutely anything, so we check. The turn is a 9 of hearts. We improve to a double gut shot. It checks around to me. We're still in position multi-way. I'm thinking that any 8, 7, or 9 will surely call a bet. I decide to just realize my equity on the button and check since we can be sure the money goes into the pot on the river if we hit our hand. We're rooting for a jack ideally to beat all 7x hands. The river is the 8 of diamonds. We make our straight and we're happy but only for a second. We see the big blind throw in a green chip and announce a bet of $15. It folds around to me and I go into the tank for a little bit. This is the same player that we chopped the pot earlier with the jack 10 for a straight, so we know that she's aware of the board. A bluff is just out of the question for this player. With a queen 9, we block hands like jack 7, queen jack for all better straights. So we kind of keep going back and forth on this one. I don't see the big blind overplaying any type of random 6 since there's a 4-liner on the board. And after a while, the players are looking at me weird because it really isn't that big of a wager, but I just don't care. I'm trying to play my game here. I haven't seen this player raise pre-flop a single time, so pocket 10s, 9s, or 8s do make sense in the way this hand was played out. We could be chopping with pocket 7s, but it's also unlikely since we have a 7 ourselves. At the end of the day, we only have $5 invested in this pot. My instincts are telling me that we're beat, we're at best chopping. We toss $1 to the dealer for holding up his game. We announce our intent to fold. I want to give you a lot of credit and fold.
Fold, fold.
Let's fold. Go ahead. Queen Jack. The small blind folds, and we show our 7. The big blind shows Queen Jack offsuit for a better straight. To be honest, I was expecting to see a full house, but a Queen high straight is good enough.
Why do I feel like a jackass?
We do get some respect from the other side of the table. The other half says they would have just called for that price. If I'm not being results oriented, it does feel a little bit nitty, but I decided to just trust my radiated instincts on this one. And the fact that we were correct brings our mindset out of Tiltville. We can finally start playing some poker again. What would you guys have done in this situation? Would you guys have paid off just to keep the player honest? Let me know in the comments below. I will say in hindsight, as I'm actually editing the blog, that it does feel extremely nitty to fold to a single bet. I don't think I'll ever be doing this against any other player at the table. This was entirely player dependent. This next hand is a fun one. It's a bomb pot. We are actually in early position. We get king 9 of hearts. The board comes king 8 jack on the top board and 3 7 4 with 2 hearts on the bottom board. So we have equity on both boards with top pair and the king high flush draw. I notice the player on my left doesn't have much left, so I'm pretty sure he's going to jam it in with any piece of either board, so I check. Sure enough, he jams in for $21 and he gets 2 callers. I check raised to $55, and I think here's where I'm making a mistake. I really should have raised somewhere between $80 to $100 and encouraged folds from single board pair holdings or single board draws. One player makes the call and the other player folds. We go heads up on the side pot on the turn. The turn is a 7 of clubs on the top board and the queen of hearts on the bottom board. This is good for us to hit our flush. We still have top pair on the other board. If our opponent called us with 2 pair on the bottom board, he now has equity with both boards and is likely to call another bet. We bet $75 and our opponent snap calls. That's some bullshit. I'm on it. The river's of 5 of diamonds on top and the 6 of hearts on the bottom. Our opponent, he looks annoyed. He checks. I instantly snap jam to make it look like I'm trying to buy the side pot. We know that we're good at least on one board since we didn't get stepped off. Our opponent goes deep into the tank. He asks for a count and realizes he's going to be down to only about $100 if he's wrong. He started this stack with about roughly $350. My opponent keeps tanking. He says he flopped it straight on the bottom board and rivered a tiny pair on top. He would have folded a long time ago if I didn't bluff him out of a couple pots earlier. I confess to him that I'm upset about the run out on the bottom board too. Eventually, he folds, we table our hand. Our opponent that jammed all in only scoots with ace-king with the ace of hearts. He shows king-9 off, and he gets quartered. Take down a huge pot. It could have been so much more if our sizing would have been great, but this does take us out of the negative into the black, and we do end up cashing out for a win. That's it for this first vlog, guys. Admittedly, this is a very abrupt finish to this whole first vlog. Unfortunately, my phone ran out of batteries, and I was just completely unprepared for that. So I got no footage of the cash out or walking or any more footage of Luna. I did end up cashing out for a net profit of $100, which really isn't that bad considering how tilted I was for half the session because, you know, our special friend just kept on, well, you saw. So this first vlog is very rough. I'm not happy with the quality of the content. I took really crappy notes and I couldn't remember the board or do some action or the values of certain hands, and I really wanted to be transparent with how I was doing. So for that sake, I just didn't include them at all in this blog. The voiceovers are still very mumbly because of the way that I talk. I'm still working on that. It's just really weird talking to a camera sometimes. So hopefully that gets better the more that I do these. I don't see a lot of vloggers in the 1-2 level. I've noticed that this is where most people start playing live no limit poker. Most people play for fun, others play for money. Why not do both? You know, my own personal goal is to, at the very least, be transparent during this journey, share as much as I can, and I try to grind my way into a very profitable 2-5 player with a healthy bankroll. At that point, if you're averaging about $30 to $40 an hour playing poker, it's really not that bad of a side hustle. You know, you're having fun and you're playing poker. You know, that's good. But the idea is to get there from the same place where everybody starts, so from the very beginning. If I can do it, then anybody can do it. I'm nobody special. I'm just a regular dude. I'm a really humble guy. I have a job. I have bills just like everybody else. Luna needs my attention. My firstborn was born, well, my firstborn son just came into this world right after Thanksgiving of 2023. So.
Better learn balance.
Oh yeah, and I do have a wife, so.
And all of this without getting my ass kicked.
Oh, just playing. She's been really supportive throughout this whole thing. She's the one that said that if I like poker so much, I should just record it and blog it. So, do I think I'm a good player? Not by any means. Poker will humble you real fast the moment you think you can't lose, or there isn't much else that you can learn. The only thing that I will very confidently say is that I really love to play poker. I love the game. I feel at ease when I'm playing. As far as whether or not I'm a winning player at this level, statistically speaking, only time will tell. Only the poker gods are immune to the loss of probability, and they sure have a twisted sense of humor. So we'll see, I guess. So I hope you follow me on this journey. We'll see where it leads. I have no idea what the final destination will be, but until then, I'll see you guys on the next session. Good luck at the tables. I hope you guys have some run good with a set of one-time for variance. See ya.